This is John Johnston, Coronation, with a rapid instant reaction about the news that Fred Hoiberg is going to return as our men's basketball coach next season. Probably shouldn't do this video. It's against my better judgment. Well, it kind of is. I mean, it'd be just as easy to just let it go and not say anything about it at all. But, there's been very few moments in my life where somebody walked up and said, "Congratulations on keeping your mouth shut in that situation, John." That kind of thing just doesn't happen very often. I am pleased that Fred Hoiberg is returning. And that is probably a very unpopular opinion because this year's men's basketball team it's unwatchable. For years growing up in Nebraska, I had to endure jokes like, "What'd you do at night? Watch you go out and watch the corn grow." I never actually did that unless I had a lot of alcohol with me or, something else. But I think that would be preferable, sitting out there watching corn grow, to watching this year's basketball team because they're fucking terrible. I mean, they really stink a lot. And my problem with firing Fred Hoiberg is this. I don't see really any other way out of this. You could say it's been 3 years and there's been no improvement, and you'd be right. And the roster turnover has been a problem. And I could even make excuses about how, one of the first year was COVID, he got hired late and the recruiting class was thrown away. And he pretty much chased off everybody that was there except 4. Second year COVID. When they hired this guy, they made an 8-year commitment to him. And I don't think you just pull the rug out from under him after 3. And I especially don't think you do that if you're the worst basketball program in Division I history in a power conference. You can make up all the excuses you want for that part, but we are the worst. Never won an NCAA game. It does a tournament. It doesn't. You don't even need to go further beyond that. Every time that Nebraskans talk about basketball, we make football references. We do that for 2 reasons. Number one, basically nobody cares about basketball. Our history has been non-existent largely. And that's the second reason. Because we don't have any basketball references we can make that aren't really not very good, and nobody wants to make those. So I don't think you can just say in 3 years you didn't do it, so you got to go away. I think you got to give the guy more time to come into the Big Ten, probably the toughest basketball conference in the nation. And for another football comparison, we kept that other guy who in his 4th year hasn't won and even gone to a bowl game in one of the worst divisions that in his sport. So there's you can compare Frost and Hoiberg to an extent, but obviously they're different sports. And Nebraska has no history. In fact, Nebraska does, well, let me take that back. Nebraska does have a history of killing coaches' careers. You could go back through them, and I'm not going to do that. You could go back through the coaches that were fired by Nebraska or were at Nebraska and look at what happened to their careers after they were done with Nebraska. When we were talking about Scott Frost being fired at the end of last year, people constantly brought up, "Who's going to come here and coach for us if we fire him?" When there would have been plenty of options. On the basketball side, yeah, that's kind of true because we kill coaches' careers and we suck and we're a terrible program. We do have a fan base, I think, that's eager for good basketball, but it hasn't shown up yet. So Fred Hoiberg, even though he didn't have to, apparently met with Trev Alberts and took a contract reduction. He had an $18 million buyout that was given to him by Bill Moose, and one of the most ridiculous things that ever come out of that athletic department. And he agreed to restructure his contract when he didn't have to. He could have just taken $18 million or whatever it was and just said, "Well, shit, this didn't work out," and been that much more money bound, I probably would have done that. But he didn't. He wants to make this a success. And Albert said he's presented him with a plan, which is a good idea. I hope that plan includes having more than one big man that can play Big Ten basketball, because that's a big problem on this year's team. Derek Walker, I think, has played pretty well, but it's also clear that he's kind of tired. And Eduardo Andre, the other big guy, I think he's developed, but not to the point that he's really a reliable Big Ten big guy. I think you can see it when he comes into the game. The team loses a lot of confidence when he comes into the game, and for good reason, because he every once in a while he contributes. Most of the time he really doesn't, not at the level they need him to. Other part of his plan hopefully includes getting a real point guard. Alonzo Verge at times has shown that he's can be amazing, and then other times it's just hero ball. And I think that Fred Hoiberg has shown that even with Nebraska's sparse, crappy, horrible history, that he can recruit a number one round draft pick in Bryce McGowens. And I think that he's shown he can recruit talent to Nebraska. Fred Hoiberg just needs to figure out what the recipe is for winning. And here's the thing with you guys that would like to see him fired. I'd like to hear your plan. Don't just give me this crap about, well, he should be fired, he sucks. This is one of my pet peeves in sports. All the time. You look at him and you go, for example, Football Reference, Bryce Benhart, tackle, sucks. He shouldn't be playing. Oh, really? Who's going to play in his place then? No, the next guy up? Who's going to go in there? Got any confidence in them? So, if you're a person who would like to see Fred Hoiberg not return, well, I'm sorry, he is. And secondly, what would you have done otherwise? And if you're going to say, I wish they'd never fired Tim Miles, I kind of wish they would never fired Tim Miles either. I've got a lot of regrets in life, man. I can't change that. So that's my reaction. I'm glad Fred's coming back. Hey, you know what? At least we don't have to worry about him starting a fucking brawl with another Big Ten coach. Because that seems to be an issue in our conference. Okay, y'all take care of yourself. I hope you're having a good winter. I'm going to try to figure out how I'm going to keep making videos, I think, over the off season, because I'm not very good at editing. And in order for me to get better at it, I'm going to have to produce something. Please subscribe. Hope you're doing well. Go big.